The to-do list is long, and there are jobs to get done on Arabella from the bottom to the top to get her ready to start moving south for winter. The winds were picking up, and it was getting colder by the day. The crew had only a week left before departing Maine for Cape Cod. One of the major improvements done here in Maine was the permanent mounting of the rigid solar panels to the shrouds. These had been deployed on the housetop, where they had been often in shade and in the way. Steve made some spreaders that will get lashed to the shrouds to hold the panels, but they'll also double as rat lines to give a new spot to climb up on to get better views while underway. Later, Steve will add rope rungs and a couple more wooden ones that will lead to the tops of both masts. These will be handy in spotting coral heads in the Caribbean or navigating glacial inlets up north. And while Scott kept motoring on fixes to the tow rails that he started last week, Steve's big job for the week was fiberglassing the new top for the Dodger. He had the balsa wood core laid out in place on the form and wetted it out with epoxy to help it become rigid enough to work with. But Steve's plan for working here on the boat was meeting some headwinds.
Grabbed the Festool 6-inch sander and some 40 grit, just ripped over this thing real quick, and I'm pretty happy with it. Got the edges all taped up, so we had some little dams, and started getting all the gear together to lay down the first layer of glass, and the wind piped up, like a lot. And it's not supposed to pipe back down until tomorrow night, and I definitely cannot leave this unweighted and be able to do glass in this wind. It's going to be a nightmare. And we can't move the Dodger because it is too flimsy. So if we were to pick this up and go put it on sawhorses, it's going to change shape, and even if it moves a half an inch, the Dodger legs aren't going to line up, and we're going to have the Dodger on all these different height pads for the legs. It really needs to stay exactly how it is. So George is off to the rescue, as George often does, and he's going to go get a couple 2x6s, and we're going to frame this in and brace it and try to make it really rigid so that we can carry this whole assembly up top out of the wind, and I can do the glassing up there. I wanted to get one layer of glass on here so that it was rigid enough to bring up, but Mother Nature is not going to let us do that today down here. So we yield to Mother Nature, because what else are you going to do?
Fortunately, this fragile cargo didn't need to go up the 100 or so steps to the workshop, as a generous neighbor a few docks down had a much easier space to reach. So Steve readied Victoria to ferry the Dodger top over to get fiberglass throughout the week. Which gives us a minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, the Woodworkers Guild of America, an online community of knowledgeable and like-minded woodworkers. It's your online resource for woodworking instructions, ideas, and information. Their videos include step-by-step instruction, and their articles and other downloadable resources could help you discover community and tons of woodworking projects. I've watched through several of their videos now, and I think if you're watching our channel, you'd probably like that they've got a ton of info on gluing and clamping, always a popular activity around here. And there's always new content added to keep you coming back and staying inspired. As a member, you'll have access to live streaming tutorials and Q&As with their expert instructors. The first 1,000 of our subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to the Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. So check out their website, and thanks again to the Woodworkers Guild of America for sponsoring today's video. Pete and Edie, who own the dock and the house where all the work was getting done, also took Steve out to show him one of the major perks of living on the Maine coast.
Yeah, they've eaten most of that one from the other day.
Yeah, there's just a pair of claws that's left from the one they ate.
They don't even know what the good part is.
If you can catch them in the act, then you can still eat the claws.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably one of them lost its bands and got aggressive, because if any of them lose their bands, they attack the others.
Well, I'm Pete. This is my lobster woman, Edie. We have the Maine rec licenses. It allows us to deploy 5 lobster traps each, and we're also allowed to share a boat. These are our colors over here, 2 different colors. So the reason this woman is doing all the work is that this is her license, and she's not, we're not allowed to have anyone else touch the gear on hauling it. On the baiting side and on the measuring side, that's okay, but she has to do all the work getting the trap on board and getting the lobsters out of the trap.
You got lobsters.
We do. 2. So you can tell if it's a male or female by these first set of
Swimmerettes.
What are they? Swimmerettes.
Swimmerettes, yeah.
If they're hard, this is a male. So this is a male. So now we band them. We have a special tool, and this is to protect not only us but the lobsters as well, because when they're put in crates, they don't hurt each other. So this is female, I believe, soft swimmerettes.
Yeah.
So no eggs currently now on the exterior part of the tail, and there's no notch. So we just have to measure her now. Too small.
Aww.
So she lives another day.
Next year.
So
See you next year.
in she goes. So now we have to rebait. Can't see what I'm doing over here. So this is herring, if we haven't already mentioned it.
The little lobsters feed just as voraciously as the big ones, and the green crabs are a problem. They're invasive and they steal your bait. The larger Jonah crabs are good to eat, so we don't mind hosting them in the trap. It may just be the end of their feeding frenzy, but the bait goes quite quickly. We're fortunate we have a bait shop downtown where we can buy bait for half a bucket for $20. So herring is the most popular bait. Pogies or menhaden are another oily fish similar to herring but larger, and they're considered almost as good. And they also use other things like pigskin during the winter, which we've tried, and we think that herring works the best.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Same place? Or
Same place? Yeah, let's go to the same place. Can't complain with that. The guy down at the bait shop said lobstering has picked up the last few weeks again.
Really?
Yeah.
The weather maybe?
I don't know. So what we're going to do is go a little faster and get up there, and then we'll pick our spots and put them in.
You got it.
Okay, so hold on to your seats.
Can't get Arabella this fast.
Rec license has all the same regulations on lobster size, no females with eggs, notching, all of that. But we're only allowed 5, and we have the same operating season as the regular lobstermen. We are not allowed to sell our catch, so it works out great for us and for our friends because they get free lobsters, but they're not allowed to be put on the market. Other than that, it gives you a great way to have fun and to have a tasty dinner.
Get dirty.
And get really muddy in the process.
Stay afloat, baby.
That's all she wrote for today.
If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and make sure you give us a like, as well as making yourself heard in the comments. And what really keeps this channel going is support from our members on Patreon. Take a look in the video description to find out how you can join them in making all of this possible.
What you're doing.
What do you mean, what am I doing? It's obvious what I'm doing.
The people don't know.
Yes.
Ben doesn't know.
Ben doesn't know. Flip it around.
Beautiful.
Now you want to come over and
See,
help
that's
when you're
teamwork
in camera.
right there.
I'm off camera technically, I think.
Technically.
Didn't even have to ask for the help though.
He saw the camera rolling. He's like, I need to be in on this.
I need to give you some advice on how to use that tool.
I'm only doing it to hold it in.
Teach Scott how to use a turns
What is it? What is it?
brace.
A brace?
Bit and brace?
It's called a bit and brace.
Catch it.
Ross was in charge of many sewing projects over the 2 weeks here, making this pouch for the reef lines on the boom that will clean up things very nicely. Another project would quite literally help Steve and all aboard sleep a little easier and safer.
Berth lee cloth.
What was this material originally?
I have no idea. It was basically the same shape, but about 10 or 12 inches longer, so I shortened it up for the workbench berth. And then Steve said he wanted to have a zipper in the middle of it, so working on that, and then I'll test fit how to mount it to the workbench and the rooftop, cabin top.
That's good stitching, man. That looks great.
Back on the boat, Steve was getting ready to run the cables to the new solar panel locations, which involved one of his least favorite jobs.
Ooh. It's time to drill a hole, a big hole, in Arabella's locust covering boards. And boy, oh boy, do I not like it. But that's what we gotta do. So about here we have the chain plate. So there's a backing block behind this chain plate. We gotta dodge that. And then right here is a bung. So there's a deck beam in here. And then we've got our shear strake that comes in here somewhere and angles down. So we wanna miss all of these. We're gonna put in this gland for the wires to run through. So the wires will come up and through here. Now, after a little experimentation, I found out that 5/8 is just big enough to get 2 runs of 10 gauge wire tend to right on top of each other. So that's what we're gonna do. All right. Oh, I hate doing that. Oh, so we hit our spot pretty well. This is the backing block for the chain plates. So we wanted to come in just forward of that, and we wanted to come in aft of this frame and the deck beam. This little hole to hit, and we managed to hit it. So now we can pull these ends of the wires in a little bit farther, and one of these is going to get hooked up for side lights, and one of these is going to get hooked up towards the solar.
Steve and Ross joined Pete and Edie on the boat to go check on the traps they had set the week before, and returned with enough dinner for everyone.
Nothing to keep up?
Jack came by for a day to help swap out the climbing slings for Dyneema on the Deadeyes. Steve was hoping they'd be able to tune up the whole rig, but Jack's work schedule just didn't line up this time.
How does she look from the dock?
On the back one.
I don't know what the degrees for it, but it's great.
Looks good? Yeah.
I'm the same as the post.
I've been kind of in and out of the rain here working on lifelines. So I'm using some of our Dyneema here that we have that big spool of. Let's see, here's one finished one. So one end has a locked I-splice, and this will get a shackle and another sling and go to the boomkin. And then it's gonna run through these low friction rings. I gotta pick up a couple more that will be lashed to the shrouds. And this piece of Dyneema will go from stem to stern, touching all the shrouds along the way, and that will provide the top rung of our lifeline. We're trying to get as much done as we can. George was a champ. He got out in the rain and scrubbed the deck. It's looking a lot better. Ross and Scott did a couple little things inside with lee cloths and the anchor locker.
But there were two jobs below the waterline that Steve would need to call in a diver for: replacing the anode on the prop and giving the bottom a good scrape from all the biology that's been accumulating on the hull over the summer.
How is it?
That's good. I've got it. Okay. I'm gonna adjust my weight belt here.
Perk's the new one. That's crazy.
Okay. So, just one fastener in the
wrench, please.
I'm not always forthcoming with the fact that I built Arabella. When I call a diver, for example, I just tell them that it's a wooden boat and that it needs to be scrubbed, and I kind of leave it at that. So it was kind of funny. Murray dove on the hull, did his thing, and he came back up, and the first words out of his mouth were, "She is tight," like really tight, really solid. And he said that he's a boat builder by trade and then got into the diving through that. So he has worked on and built and dove on tons of boats. And he said, you would not believe how many are just kind of frail. And he said, not because they are not well maintained or taken care of, that they are just not well built. And that he, as a boat builder and a diver, would not leave sight of land in those vessels. And he many times over said how tight Arabella was and how tight all the seams were and how solid she felt, and just that it felt like a really solid, well-built, well-constructed boat, and whoever built her did a good job. And that's when I told him that I was the one that built her, which, you know, led into a whole other long conversation, which is usually why I don't lead with I built the boat, because then that's what we talk about for like the next half hour. And Robin is always chastising me about that. She says that I make a living off of people knowing about me and knowing what I'm doing, which is true. And they won't know if I don't tell them, which is also true. But I am like the worst self-promoter there ever was.
So it touches the mouth.
The window to get back to Arabella and get south to warmer weather before winter really sets in and getting south is difficult, if not dangerous, is pretty short. And I've got a lot of ducks to get in a row, and so far, thanks to a lot of help and some really generous people, they are lining up. So major thank you to Chris, who gave us a little bit of a deal on the Airbnb rental where all of the crew came to stay. So if you would like to go spend a little vacation time in Booth Bay, look up the Boat Builders Retreat on Airbnb. Chris was a great host. It was a really nice place to stay. Without a place to work on Arabella, there would be no point bringing in the crew, and getting work done would be really difficult if we were at anchor or a mooring and didn't have access to a shop or shore power. So thank you to Pete and Edie. Being here on their dock has been perfect, and I don't know where we would have been or what we would have done otherwise. After the summer that I've had, getting a bunch of the crew together to work on Arabella was really good for the soul. So thank you so much. I feel so lucky and so blessed, and I don't know what exactly I did to deserve it, but it's been really great.